Alright guys, so welcome to the Careful Topo project. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a topo map, and we're going to do it from scratch. Basically we're going to use a Revit template out of the box, so there's nothing custom. And so we're going to first start off with new, and let's use an architectural template. And then we're going to go to site plan, and we're going to start drawing here on the site plan. So the first thing I'd like you guys to do is that you have a link to our PDF folder here. So you're going to drag that into your site plan. Like that. We don't know whether it's in scale or anything like that at the moment, so we just want to scale this thing, and you can use this number here. So this dark line is 253.2 feet long. So simply select it, scale. P3 starts there, and it's close enough. And then we're going to just the third click, instead of clicking up, just going to type 253.2 feet. So now this is in real scale. And a couple of things before we start, I need you guys to kind of assess the topology. So this is up in the Malibu Canyons. And you can see this topo line is 770 feet above sea level, and the highest point is like 815, 820, 822, and then it starts to somewhere down here from 822. It starts to go back down to 819 and 808. So it seems like the highest portion of this thing is like 820. So a couple of things: if you start drawing a topo and you start to draw a topo map that is, for instance, 825 feet above sea level, which is somewhere here, and you start clicking, it's 4 corners, and I say yes. Oh, you'll see that I don't see my topo here. And if I go to the 3D view, the reason you don't see it is because the topo is floating way up in the air, 850 feet above zero. Because in Revit, your zero level is 0 sea level. So the thing that you need to do also is that if you're going to do this, is you're going to go to your view range, and you're going to move your cut plane and your top plane to the highest level that you need. So I'm just going to go 850. And 850, and then you'll suddenly see your topo. And then you also want to make your topo wireframe. So obviously these points are high, and these points are where I kind of need them to be, I guess. Or you know what, I'm going to bring it back down to 810. So I'm just going to take these guys and move these points to 810 feet. And move these points. If this is 765, I'm going to say this is like 760 arena there. So I'm going to move these guys down to 760. So I kind of established my end where I want to be and where I want to begin from. So I have a topo established, and then we're going to fill in the rest of the gap. So if this is 765, 760, I'm going to start with my first topo line, which is 765, which is right down here, this line. So I'm going to point and type 765. It's really important that here's my actual topo boundary. When I first click my first 765, I'm just going to extrapolate this line here and click just slightly on the outside of the topo line. Just trust me when I say that. And then just going to roughly establish my topo, tracing over my lines, and it seems like it's tapering off this way, and I'm going to come slightly outside of that and click. So I finished my 765, and I know the topo lines are kind of not exactly where you need them to be, but don't worry. As you start to give Revit more information, it'll kind of make sense of it. My next series are going to be 770. And again, I'm going to just take that line across this way. next line is going to be 775. So 775. Just remember your last click it just slightly outside of your boundary. It'll just make your model a little bit cleaner. At least that's what I discovered on Revit. 780 is my next topo. Once I get out of my property line, I'm really not going to care what happens here. I just want the characteristics of my topo. This is where it gets a little crazy. I think this is my 820 line here. So it's 820, and just trying to make the best of our information that we've been given. And then it actually goes all the way up to 822, and then it starts to drop to 819 to 810. You can see right here 809, 810. 810. So I'm just going to leave it. So I am done with my topo. And take a look at topology now. I'm not worried about these guys. I mean, I guess we can stretch them out a little further to flatten it out if necessary, but I really don't care because my site is right in here, and that's the characteristics that I want to make sure that that I have, that I'm trying to design around. All right, so that's that, and then I'll see you guys in the next demo. Alright guys, so now we have our topo, and as you can see in our 3D view, our topo is floating 800 some odd feet above zero or sea level. And this is where I need you guys to kind of pay attention. So here's an elevation. Here is our level at 0, 0, which is default. 0 sea level is the default Revit. On your screen, you probably don't see this, but if you click on Reveal, you'll be able to see it and then toggle it on. This is actually quite important when you have a project that's kind of involves topographic and things like that. So I think if you had your topo early on, like you do this particular project, it's best to establish where you might want to have your first floor. So if I go back to my site plan, and I'm going to say I want my house somewhere around here, and my topo is about 805, so maybe I want something near 805, at least for the moment, and obviously I can adjust it a little bit more later. So what I want to do here is go to my elevation, take my 2 default level here, maybe I want to rename this first floor, first FF floor. And then this one, I'm going to say if I want a 10-foot ceiling, that'll be first floor And I like to put the numbers in. That way it shows up on top of my project browser. And I'm going to say F for finished ceiling. I'm going to dimension it so I can lock it in. So even though I know that that's 10 foot, I'm going to lock it. That way if I move this, that moves 10 feet away. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move my level 805 feet above sea level. So you can see my first floor level's here. But really, I don't really want to show this as 805 because if it was some, and then like if I change this to 815, although it is 10 feet for a contractor to do that math or other people that are reviewing it, they might get a little bit confused. So you really want to show my first floor to be your 0, and then 10-foot ceiling, 15 feet, second floor. So you want to measure off of this being 0. So what you want to do next is come back in here and select one of these circles. And what you want to do is get project base point, not the triangle, which is the survey points. You can think of the survey point as your true 0, 0 sea level. You don't want to move that. You just want to leave that where it is. You go to your project base point, and we moved it, what, 805? Yeah, 805. So you want to go to your project base point, unpin it, and change that elevation to 805. So essentially what I'm saying is, I'm telling Revit, look, my base point, which will be my first floor, finished floor, instead of being at 0 elevation, it's going to be at 805 feet above sea level. So then you notice that I have a triangle left, but my circle flew up to 0, and then I'm going to pin it. So I'm going to lock it. And what's really important is that you can see my first floor now is showing 0, 0 at that level, and 10 feet, and 20 feet, 30 feet in relationship to this. But what's also nice is that, let's say I did want to show them from true sea level, like 815 or whatever it is. Then I can click this, go to the edit type. Instead of showing it from project base point, which is this guy, I can say show me that number from the survey point. It changes back to 805. So it's very versatile, but if you skip my steps, it'll be really, it's going to behave really funny. So hopefully you pay attention to this video and do it exactly in the sequence that I showed you. Don't move this thing at all. Just don't move it. And just use your topo, put it at the proper elevation, and move your project to that topo elevation that you need. And let's say later you wanted to move your first level a little bit higher up in the thing. Maybe you wanted at 807.7, let's say, and go ahead and move this to 807.7 feet above sea level. Just remember, you want that to show up as 0 now, and so then you want to move the project base point, and you want that number to match. So of course unpin it, and then you're going to set your new elevation to 807.7, I believe. And then if I say, give me the number not from the survey point, which is true 0, because that's what it's reading now, and wanted to see it from project base point, that should show up to be 0. Alright, so get it to this level. I would tell you, bring the project finished floor to about 805 at the moment, and then we'll see you on the next one where we start laying out the floor plan.